I'm Chris Erdmann, and this is Made of More, the show where we go beyond business to uncover real stories that shape entrepreneurs, leaders, and change makers. Every Wednesday at 8 a.m. on KKNW, we explore the pivotal moments, the adversity faced, the risks taken, and the resilience found along the way. This isn't just about what people have built, it's about who they've become. If you're ready for inspiration, practical insights, and stories that remind you that you too are made of more, you're in the right place. Today, my guest is Kay Kim, founder and business owner of K Catering, a Seattle-based business that has been running for 12 years and counting. And today we're going to talk about roots, resilience, some life-defining moments, and the business, entrepreneurship, and purpose. Kay, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Chris.
Yeah, I'm glad you could make it down. We just met the other day, and we have a mutual friend, Ray, that just thought the world of you and your business, and here we are after a quick phone call.
Yes, I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. You know, I really checked out your website and your social media, and as we're getting into this, can you just tell all the listeners the type of food that you cater, that you love to cater?
So K Catering specializes in Asian fusion cuisine. We do all kinds of international cuisine, but we love the Asian fusion because I am ethnically Korean, and so I love to showcase where I'm from and what I'd love to eat and serve.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm sure Ray and a few of his friends have tasted your food and whatnot, and he just raves about it.
Awesome.
Yeah. Well, so you said you're from Korea, and, you know, I just want you, as we were on the phone, we were talking about kind of part of your childhood or coming here, moving here, what was it, in the 1970s at some time?
In the 70s.
Yeah, you want to tell me a little bit about that experience?
Sure. I remember being 5 years old, and we were getting on a big plane to go to America, and I didn't know what that meant, and I just knew that we were going to go far away. Never really have seen an airplane before, let alone got on a plane. Old, here I am looking up to this big, massive airplane, and I remember red carpet up to the stairs of this big machine. And I remember as a young child walking up those stairs to get on this plane to go on my next adventure in life.
Wow, at 5 years old. Why was it that you guys were moving here at such an age?
You know, in the 70s, Korea needed, it wasn't the most
economical.
Yeah. So my parents were looking for better opportunities.
Sure.
And so my parents got an opportunity to come to America and was sponsored by a family friend. And so we had the chance to go to America.
You said it kind of went in stages, and so it was kind of a different experience. Like maybe your dad came here first?
Yes.
Yeah.
So my dad came to the States first to find a place to stay for the family and got us a place. So, because there was three of us, so I'm the oldest of the family, and then I have a sister and a brother, and me, I was 5, my sister was 2, and then my mom and then we had the little baby on her back.
Wow.
So imagine hauling 3 kids internationally across the ocean.
Mom was basically married and very much with your father, but alone during that duration.
Yes. And because at the time you're not, as a male, you couldn't take kids out of the country. I don't know, there's weird rules about that. So my mom had to have all of us go there.
Welcome to America, right?
Yeah.
And then you're 5, so you're starting school pretty soon, and you probably experienced different culture shocks. Do you have any memories of early culture shocks as you're getting used to America?
I remember going to school, and I remember not really understanding what people are talking about.
Yeah.
It was a foreign space, and back then, they have ESL classes, English as a second language class.
Yeah.
And I was in that class and learning about different words, and it was a special time to understand how to understand the culture.
Integrate and make friends. How was it in your first few years here, making friends and getting integrated?
It was pretty tough trying to understand the different cultures. I remember It was Halloween, and I'm sure I was probably 6 or 7 at the time. And Halloween was a big deal for the kids in the United States.
Sure.
In Korea, there is no such thing as Halloween, and there's no costumes, and there's no trick-or-treating.
Okay.
And I remember telling my mom, like, how important it is that I had a costume. And so I remember having to tell my mom that in the States, we have to wear masks and a costume, and
she didn't quite get it.
Yeah, she didn't quite get it. But we were part of that. There was a parade and I got to be in it, and it was such an interesting culture.
Oh, wow. Well, there's no internet or anything YouTube back then, or all these commercials.
No.
It was like basically word of mouth and a little bit of TV.
Yeah.
And so she didn't have that influence of being able to look it up and be like, oh,
no.
Halloween, this is what we need to do.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Wow, what an experience. And then what about as you got a little bit older? Like what was life like, and what are some things that were starting to shape your mind? Because like as I talk to you, it seems like you're very business oriented, obviously with a successful business, but what are some of these earlier experiences that were shaping your mind?
Well, I'd like to maybe talk about just growing up and my family. We didn't have a lot of money. You know, we came to the country with not much. And I just remember growing up having to be very creative and how to deal with different situations.
Like what are some examples you could think of?
I remember one story. We were coming from Colorado to Seattle.
Sure.
My parents decided that we should all move there. And one story was where we finally got to Seattle. We drove in this Lincoln Buick, whatever car. And I remember trailing a U-Haul. So mind you, there was like mom, dad, 3 kids, grandma.
Oh, full load.
And yes, it was a full car. And we arrived in Lincoln Park. And I remember we were so glad that we had finally got to Seattle and we were all having a good time at this park. And an unfortunate thing happened. My mom, who was carrying the family's life savings in that bag, it was stolen.
No way. What happened?
And, I think she left her bag next to my dad. My dad was looking at the map and studying where we needed to go next. And it was a lot of money for us.
Sure.
It was the beginning of what we're going to do in Seattle.
Everything you guys
yes.
did. Yeah.
And it was gone.
Oh my goodness.
So we had no money, and my dad had a few $100s in his pocket.
Okay.
And how we dealt with our next steps in life and how my parents dealt with it gave me a lot of life lessons on how to deal with situations, hard times. And I remember how creative my mom was.
Yeah.
And I remember she would need to cook some food, and we didn't have any pots and pans. And do you know those Folgers in cans with coffee?
Yeah, they also make good drums.
Yeah. So I remember my mom had that from the coffee, and she used that to make soup.
Oh, really?
Dinner, yeah. Because we didn't have anything.
Really resourceful.
Yeah. So she taught me how to be resourceful, to be creative, and things like that has really,
Yeah, you know what? I could totally relate. My mom moved here from the Philippines. I'm the youngest and the first one born in the U.S. And, she used to make all of our clothes, not all of our clothes, but all of our costumes and whatnot. So,
yeah.
So very, very resourceful. And I don't know, and did you guys did she make your lunches, or did you buy them at school, or what was that like?
Oh, yeah. Lunches were made. And one of the funny stories of school lunches. So when we go on field trips, you're supposed to pack a lunch. And my teacher at the time said, okay, everybody has to pack your lunch. And I wanted to take a sandwich. And my grandmother was watching us because our parents were working. And so our grandma was there babysitting us. And I said, Grandma, can you make me a sandwich?
Yeah.
And Grandma's like, what's a sandwich? And I said, well, you need some bread and sandwich meat and, you put it together. And she's like, well, why can't you just take this rice and kimchi and things like that I packed for you? And I'm like, no, Grandma, I want to be like everybody else.
Sure.
So,
I can relate.
So I wanted her to make me a sandwich, and she made me a sandwich, but she was very creative in making that sandwich. Okay. We didn't have lunch meat at home because we don't eat that as a Korean family, but we happened to have some hot dogs. So she sliced the hot dog meat in little thin slices to create the lunch meat and made me a sandwich. And when I went on my field trip and I was having my lunch, I remember the kids kind of teasing me, like, what is that you're eating? That is not really a sandwich. That's hot dog meat in there.
Yeah.
So I remember trying to fit in.
Right.
But
always being a little different.
Yeah, always being a little different, trying to fit in.
Okay.
But, you live.
You live and learn. You're resourceful. You seem like a very calm person. Like, as I sit here with you and you have this very, like, calm demeanor and whatnot. When your parents, when that money was stolen and they found they only had a few $100s at that time, like, how did they react? What was their energy like? Did they display, I'm sure they got upset, but how did you interpret that?
Well, of course they were very upset because that was all they had. But I remember my dad just being pretty calm about it, actually. Like, okay, well, I have $300 in my pocket. Well, we got to figure something out. And I sense the energy was very stressful, and something bad happened. But he dealt with it. He figured it out and got us a place to live and
figured it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. What a great role model. And sounds like your parents are really wonderful people, as like, wanting better for their family and make sure to take all the children. And it sounds like you have a lot of good experiences too. Yeah. What are some of your favorite experiences during that time that you want to talk about?
Well, I think my favorite times when I was young is my dad, to entertain us on the weekends. He would create a talent show, a family talent show, and he would go to Target or whatever store and have us pick out possible winning prizes. And so they're like little toys and little trinkets that you could win for best performance.
Yeah.
And my father was so good at creating entertainment and joy and fun times out of really nothing. And instead of having to spend a lot of money, maybe going to the movie theater or going out to dinner or whatever families did at that time, he made fun entertainment for us. Yeah. And so the three of us would have a talent show. We'd sing or dance or act, and the best performer got to have the first choices in the prize that was purchased for the day.
Oh, how wonderful. Yeah. This is well before iPads or anything, right?
Yes,
we had to be creative.
You did.
Yeah. Wow. That's fantastic. In your childhood, like through all this creativity, did you know at what age did you realize you wanted to become a business owner?
I don't think I ever wanted to be a business owner. Never thought I'd be a business owner. So that was never part of my vision. But my parents did own businesses. They owned restaurants, and my parents were entrepreneurs themselves.
What kind of restaurants?
They had a Korean barbecue restaurant near Linwood.
Okay.
They had
some
teriyaki. Secret Garden.
Seaweed Garden?
Secret Garden.
Secret Garden.
Yes,
okay.
yes.
And do you remember how long that went for?
They had that when I was in college, so way back when.
Okay.
Yeah.
And did you help out?
No, I was too busy going to school, so I wasn't part of the business.
Okay.
But I saw them.
You saw them do it.
Yeah.
All right. And then you said other restaurants and whatnot?
Yeah, they had like Don Stan, which is a teriyaki shop. They had, my mom had other teriyaki shops around the city. They really leaned into food as a way to, support the family.
Okay. Well, talk to me about your journey of learning how to cook and how to, tell me about where this passion started of cooking.
My passion for cooking was never really a passion in the beginning. I just remember as a kid, my mom would make me be in the kitchen to help her.
Okay.
So she would make me wash the rice for dinner. And then when it's time to make the kimchi, she would make me sit next to her and give her the salt, give her the chili peppers. And I really didn't want to be there, but she made me. And it's funny because all those years that she made me be in the kitchen really taught me lessons on how to cook. And I didn't actually develop my joy of food and cooking until I was an adult and I had my own house. And that's when I thought, oh, this might be interesting.
Okay. So at some point in time in adulthood, you're like, wow, this is fun. I have my own kitchen and you're buying your own pots and pans. And what was some of the first dishes you started really playing with and starting finding that passion?
Oh, boy. I wouldn't say there's any particular dish or type of food that I wanted to try, but I found that I was very curious to try different things. So, of course, I would cook Asian cuisine, but I was very excited about trying different recipes and testing things and the joy of like trial and error and having a finished product.
Okay. Was it always Asian food, or did you kind of dabble around with other cuisines?
Oh, no, it was all kinds of food. In fact, I think when I was raising my kids and my then husband, I would create these delicious food for my family, and every night I try to have something yummy to create.
That creativity was still coming out because you wanted to try something different. It sounds like all the time.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. And then how many kids do you have?
I have 2 daughters. Yeah.
2 daughters. Okay. All right. And where are they at today?
Well, one is in New York, adulting and working at with an art gallery, and I have a second daughter who is just graduating from Boulder CU Boulder.
Oh, you must be proud.
Next week. We're going to head
Congratulations.
over there. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, we're going to take a short break here, and we're going to get into the next segment here shortly. So thank you for tuning in to Made of More.
You can't escape a traffic jam. Know what else you can't escape? Seasonal allergies. And you might think you can avoid that coffee stain until... Oh, really? You can't escape a lot of things in life, but you can escape prediabetes. Prediabetes captures 1 in 3 adults. There are usually no signs of prediabetes. In fact, most people don't even know they have it. But with early diagnosis, you can change the outcome and prevent or delay type 2 diabetes. Take action by taking the 1-minute risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org. You might not be able to escape having this song stuck in your head, but you can escape prediabetes. Go to doihaveprediabetes.org today. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention.
Are you ready to discover remarkable stories of resilience and cultural connection? This is Diaspora, a show sharing the journeys of first-generation immigrants from the Indian subcontinent now building their lives in North America. Inspiring, insightful, and always engaging, Diaspora offers a unique perspective on the immigrant experience. Join me, Aditya Mehta, my guests, on the Diaspora Show every Wednesday at 2 p.m. right here on KKNW.
The more you listen to your kids, the closer you'll be. So we asked kids, what do you want your parents to hear?
I feel sometimes that I'm not listened to. I would just want you to listen to me more often and evaluate situations with me and lead me towards success.
We're not adults, so just be there and listen. I just want someone to yap to. And I just feel like I'll be fine if someone just hears me talk and talk and talk and talk and talk and talk and talk.
You're doing a really good job. And I don't think I tell you that enough. And I know sometimes we get into it and it's just hard on both of us. But, try to understand me more and I'll try to do the same.
Listening is a form of love. Find resources to help you support your kids and their emotional well-being at sounditouttogether.org. That's sounditouttogether.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and Pivotal.
Get inspired every hour right here on Alternative Talk 1150.
Welcome back to Made of More. I'm your host, and I'm sitting here with Kay Kim, K Catering from Seattle. And Kay's been talking about a bit about her childhood and things that have made her who she is today. But Kay, you've mentioned a few things, and at one point in time you mentioned your husband, and I could see you don't have a husband today, but you have an amazing wife that you're married to. And we'll get into that, but as we transition out of your juvenile stages as a kid and college days, I want to talk about your adult life a little bit more and maybe some ups and downs that you've had. Where would you like to begin?
I guess we could talk about how I started this business and,
That's 12 years ago, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I started the business probably a little bit more than 12 years ago. It's officially 12 years as a legal business, but
sure. I hear you got creative.
Yeah. So I was going through a tough marriage.
Mm-hmm.
My then husband and I were going through some hard financial times.
Yeah, how long were you two married?
Oh, goodness, about 14, 15 years.
14, 15 years.
Yeah.
And this financial times, what about year was this?
I think it was around 2014.
2014. Yeah.
Right around there.
Yeah. And so there's some financial challenges. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, we were going through some financial troubles, and so we decided, we went through divorce.
Yeah.
And at the same time, we had to go through bankruptcy. And
what happened?
Well, just some mismanagement of money, and,
that happens a lot more than you could think.
So anyways, going through that divorce and bankruptcy was really difficult. I didn't know what I would be going through because it was my choice to go through a divorce.
Yeah.
And then
you guys were not business owners at that time, were you guys?
No, I was a stay-at-home mom.
Okay.
I stayed at home for the whole time, raising my kids while husband went out and brought home the bacon.
Yeah. Well, and you had one of the hardest jobs in the world is be a good mom. Being present is
yes.
a lot of work.
Yes. So I went through a really tough divorce and bankruptcy at the same time. And when I was going through that, before I decided to go through that, I didn't know what I was going to do, really. I didn't have a career that I had developed and worked on.
Because now you had to, support yourself.
Yeah.
You have to recreate yourself.
Yep. And I looked at what my talent was. And, during our marriage, we had really a fun time with lots of entertaining and dinner parties.
Sure.
And I think I got my lesson in life of cooking and my culinary aspirations when we were married, and I was entertaining a lot because that's what I loved. And at the time, my then husband and I were leaders at our church. And one of the things that we decided that it would be fun to do was invite members of the church to our house.
Okay.
So for 1 year, we would invite somebody to our house, whether it be just a couple, whether it be, 10 people, but Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and sometimes all 3 days, we would have someone over for dinner. So for 1 year, for every weekend, that is what I did.
Wow, that's a lot of different planning and a lot of coordinating, and it's actually a lot of effort just to invite people over that often.
Yes,
so you created like some sort of rhythm somehow, it sounds like.
Yes, so that's where I got my lessons in entertaining, and I loved it. And we got an opportunity to meet a lot of people more in depth and make a lot of great friendships.
Sure.
So that's where I created my talent and my wisdom in that world.
Wow, sounds like a great time of just learning and connecting with friends.
So when I looked at myself and I'm like, what am I going to do? Then I leaned into my talent and entertaining.
Okay.
And
what did that look like, from when you made that decision to the first next steps, let's say?
Well, at the time, also my kids went to a really a nice school in Seattle, and a lot of it was a private school. And so I leaned in when I decided that I wanted to do this because I had to figure out, how I was going to pay the bills, what's my next step. So I looked to my friends and I said, I remember like being a stay-at-home mom and thinking, oh my gosh, Mondays and Wednesdays are the worst days to cook because Monday you're tired from the weekend, Wednesday it's midweek. And so I reached out to my friends and I said, hey, ladies, I am going to make dinner for your family.
Okay.
And I'm going to, every day it's going to be every meal is going to be the same for everybody, but I'm going to cook. So it could be like, spaghetti and meatballs, let's say one
Whatever
night.
you created.
Yeah, whatever I created. So I called up all my friends and I said, hey, if you want some dinner made and delivered to your house, call me and, I have this. So that's how I started.
Oh, wow.
I asked my friends to start ordering from me these meals.
You didn't even ask. You just told them.
Yeah. And so that's how I
great-
started the business on like getting my friends to order these meals.
How many groups of friends do you think in this first year were ordering from you?
Oh, I would say there was a family of, I started out with like 5 families and then word got around like, oh my gosh, Kay is cooking these dinners. And of course, I did also have a reputation at the school because I was a PTA mom and I did a lot of events.
You're well connected, well
yes,
networked. Yeah.
where I did do like the schools like fundraisers and created food for that events, the different events.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this was basically out of your house to your friends' tables.
Yep.
And all word of mouth after a while. You started with the 5 families and it just grew from there.
Yes, it did.
How long did this portion of your business last for?
I would say probably a good 3-4 years.
Okay.
Of making home
time.
cooked meals. So this business of mine started with the pots and pans out of my kitchen. And that's how I started my name of my brand.
Yeah.
We did a lot of Asian food as well, which people loved.
Were you K Catering from the beginning?
Excuse me?
Were you K Catering from the beginning?
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
It was K Catering. I would get together with my friends. I'm like, hey guys, okay, I'm going to, start this business. What do you think would be a good name?
Yeah.
And we thought about different names, but my friends were like, well, you know what, Kay, everyone knows you for your food and you're Kay, so let's just call it K Catering.
Okay. Wow. That's a great little story there. That's a great beginning.
Yeah.
Sounds like a lot of love and community.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I did have a great community to start my business. Not only did my friends order my meals, but also the school that my kids went to. I actually approached them and I said, I think we should have a good lunch program for our school because the school didn't have a lunch program. Everybody had to pack their lunch and bring it to school. I approached the school and I said, I would love to be the lunch lady for our school.
Okay, what'd that look like?
And, the school usually is very protective and private about what type of business they bring in. But because they knew who I was and the passion for food and this vision that I have for the kids.
Yeah.
Because I knew that the programs we've had in the past weren't very good. So I wanted to make it better.
Sounds I keep hearing something, this undertone, but it sounds like your successes and where I see this excitement and joy come from you is like you seem very talented at creating relationships.
Yes.
It seems like that's where the root of your business is. These relationships, and it sounds like a lot of people see that, love that, and want to support you because you're giving to them, in who knows how many ways, but through food.
Yeah,
Yeah. That's pretty amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, it was great.
Did you ever make the sandwich with the hot dogs in it?
No.
No?
No, but that would have been a good one.
Yeah. What about during these 3-4 years? What were the struggles you had during the startup time? Sounds like there's infinite amounts of support, but can you recall any struggles?
Well, starting a business is really tough, and I was creative in building those relationships so I could build up my business.
Sure.
And I worked really hard through late nights, hauling catering supplies and doing these fabulous events. And it was super fun. I loved it.
Yeah.
And there's always those challenges of figuring out where to go with the next step of the business because, I'm not a business person. I have no business background.
Right.
And
it's all out of necessity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so what I did find is community. I found resources. The city of Seattle has amazing different networks that helps small businesses to be educated.
You want to share any of those?
Yes. The Small Business Association does an amazing job with classes. There's Business Impact Northwest. That's awesome. So all these little businesses out there that supports like mine gives you education, gives you connection, gives you information to succeed.
That's great. What about any networking groups that you might recommend checking out?
Oh my gosh, I am so involved in a lot of different associations. First of all, I love the Seattle Chamber of Commerce. I love GSBA. I am actually a program manager for National Association of Catering and Events. Oh. That's locally here in Seattle. There's ILEA and probably a few more that I can't remember. But yes, these associations are super important to make connections, to learn about what's out there and grow your business.
These are great tips for people that are listening.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you for sharing those.
Yes, absolutely.
So, after those 3-4 years, what was the next step after that?
Well, 3-4 years after I started the business.
Yeah, you said it was, a really small business with all the support for 3-4 years, and then it must have taken a different turn from there.
Well, it took a long time to get to where I am today, but about, let's see, when was the pandemic?
2020.
Yeah. So before 2020, I was working really hard to save up my money, and I had a mentor that I went to through SBA, and I said, and Ken is my mentor till this day, Ken Gunn. I asked him, okay, Ken, I want to own my own kitchen, my own commissary kitchen. What do I need to do to make that happen?
Sure.
So for 2 years prior to the pandemic, he said, okay, 2 years before then, he said, okay, you need to do this, you need to set aside money for that, and then you need to start getting your, books,
really?
Straight.
Sounds like he's being a good financial advisor within the business. Okay.
So I did what he said, and at 2020, I was like, okay, I'm ready. I have the money. I have all my books in order, and I was able to get a commissary kitchen. I bought my own building.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you.
And this is downtown Seattle.
This is on Rainier Avenue, located right on Rainier Avenue right down the street here.
Okay.
And so come 2020, I have my building. I was just about ready to sign on the dotted line. I was so excited, like my own kitchen that I could continue my vision and dreams of growing my...
And employees too?
Yes, I had a couple of employees. I, now was thinking I was going to get this kitchen. And that March, as we all know what happened, pandemic hit, and I didn't know what was going to happen then, right? But so my agent actually came to me and said, Kay, are you sure you want to do this? Of course, it would be best for him to just push me along and have me sign the documents. But I said, no, yes, I want to continue this.
Sure.
And it was just about trusting myself, trusting the system. I didn't know what was going to happen, but I went forward with it. I signed on the dotted line.
So they checked in, you took a double take, and you said, you know what, I'm ready to go.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I'm ready to go. I'm going to do it.
All right.
I could have backed out and said, oh, wait, okay, maybe not right now.
Because how long was the closing on that one, roughly?
Well, the whole process started like months before, and I was just about to close. So, a month into it.
Oh, wow.
Final closing. Yes.
Wow. And, we're going to get into more of that right after in the next segment here. Thank you for sharing that.
Most people out here think that taking care of one another is important. And most people would step up for a neighbor going through a tough time. Most people around here help out friends and family when they need it. But the funny thing is, most of us won't look for help when we need it. If you're struggling with mental health, you should know that there are resources out there that can help. And it's okay to talk about it if you need to. One place to get started with information is loveyourmindtoday.org. Loveyourmindtoday.org offers a range of guides, instructions, and insights for dealing with difficult situations or getting through a tough time. If you're struggling with mental health, get the help you need, because most people out here really care. Visit loveyourmindtoday.org. That's loveyourmindtoday.org. Brought to you by the Huntsman Mental Health Institute and the Ad Council.
Hello, I'm Chris Erdmann. Every Wednesday at 8 a.m. on KKNW, I sit down with inspiring entrepreneurs, creative minds, and game changers to uncover the real stories behind their business. On my show, Made of More, we explore the challenges that they've overcome, the breakthroughs that they've celebrated, and the mindset that drives them forward. If you're ready to unlock your full entrepreneurial potential, Made of More is the show for you, because here we know you are made of more. Every Wednesday at 8 a.m. on KKNW.
The more you listen to your kids, the closer you'll be. So we asked kids, what do you want your parents to hear?
I feel sometimes that I'm not listened to. I would just want you to listen to me more often and evaluate situations with me and lead me towards success.
We're not adults, so just be there and listen. I just want someone to yap to. And I just feel like I'll be fine if someone just hears me talk and talk and talk and talk and talk and talk and talk.
You're doing a really good job. And I don't think I tell you that enough. And I know sometimes we get into it and it's just hard on both of us. But try to understand me more and I'll try to do the same.
Listening is a form of love. Find resources to help you support your kids and their emotional well-being at sounditouttogether.org. That's sounditouttogether.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and Pivotal.
Alternative Talk 1150, the talk of the sound.
Welcome back to Made of More. I'm Chris Erdmann, your host, and I'm sitting here with K Kim of K Catering, located in Seattle, Washington. Hey, Kate, you were just talking about the pandemic. The pandemic just hit, and you decided to move forward with the purchase of your building on Rainier Ave, and you had a dream, and you were like, this is time. What actually made you cross the line, knowing that, hey, we're in a pandemic, and your agent did check in with you? And what was it that made you just say, I'm moving forward?
Well, in growing your business, you have to move forward. You have to take risks, or you don't grow.
Yeah.
And that was my opportunity to tell myself that to move forward and take that risk. We don't know what's going to happen, but that's what business is about.
It is what business is about. Wow, that gave me chills just thinking you were facing what everybody else is facing. I've saw so many people not sign on that dotted line and just say, we're going to take a step back. And actually some of them never moved forward again, even years later. Yep. And so you did it. So you decided there's no moving backwards in business. I'm doing it a month or two in after that. What did that look like?
Well, as you know, it was kind of a crazy time. And going back to that story of the school and doing the school lunches.
Sure.
I needed to make sure that business continued, but business actually stopped. There was no more catering happening. All the weddings that were supposed to happen was on pause. No one's calling for more business. So also I had this lunch service that I had committed to do for the school. So how that worked was in the beginning of the year, the parents would give me their money for the whole school year saying, okay, this is lunch for my kid for the whole school year. So I had collected all this money come in September of the previous year. Now we're in March, right? So it was, halfway through the school year? And my option was to either give back all the money to the parents of this very affluent school or I had a creative idea.
What was it?
I thought to myself, okay, I have all this money in my account that I need to either give back to the parents, or how about there's this housing project down the street close to the school, and it's for low income. It's called, the name escapes me, but it's in Magnuson Park area. Okay. And this house held many different families, hundreds of different family members that live there. So I asked, and also, mind you, those kids aren't going to school and they're not getting their free lunch that they usually get. And also the parents are out of work. So I reached out to the parents of the school and I said, hey, I could give you your money back that you had paid me, or as a community, can we use your money and I will use that money to feed the families here once a week until the end of the school year, which would be in June. And would you be willing to work with me to create this service and community at this time of need?
And what was the response?
Of course, it was a great response. Everybody loved it because, at that time, people were always also looking for ways to help and figure out how you can make a difference in this really tough time.
Wow, what a great idea. Yeah. And then what a bunch of great hearts collectively the school and the family had in supporting your dream and they probably wouldn't have done it without that relationship that you established.
Exactly.
They thought you were made of more, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
They really did.
Yeah.
And so that's how we transferred the funds. That kept my staff working. Mm-hmm. I was able to enjoy giving back to the community. And also during that time, we were very creative in trying to support the essential workers in the hospitals, and we would, I would call on our dinner customers and say, hey, let's make some food, collect some donations and serve the church, the school, the hospitals and things like that.
Yeah. Wow, it sounds very creative, and that creativity ever since you were a child just keeps shining through at many different stages of life.
Yes, yes. And that creativity started from when I was a kid, coming to America, learning how creative my grandma was making those hot dog sandwiches.
Yeah.
My creative mom trying to figure out how to cook dinner when I don't have any pots and pans. So we'll use Folger tin cans, and then creativity of all those life lessons. I didn't really think about my childhood life lessons and how they would apply, but it so applies to life, right?
Yeah. It shaped you and molded you.
It shapes me to think outside the box, think creatively, and how you live a good life.
Thank you for sharing all that. I want to take a transition and just focus on where you and your business are today and any support and resources that you're utilizing now. But where is K Catering today? Tell me about it.
We are going strong at the location on Rainier Avenue.
Okay.
And we are really focusing on sharing our Asian fusion cuisine. There isn't any other catering companies out there that's doing the full service.
And what does full service mean?
Full service is where we have staff, where you're needing to host a large party or fundraiser or whatever it is, where you need bar service, you need servers, you need rentals, you need all of that stuff.
Sure. And you have it all.
Yes.
You have it. That's fantastic. And then it looks like you just got a fairly new website as well. It looks really fresh and new.
Yes, we're always changing. And one thing that as a business owner, you do have to be current. You have to change things up. And yes, we are working on we're even working on a new version right now.
Oh, wow. That's fantastic. And you have a great social media where people can follow you as well. Well, what's the name of that?
Yes, I live on Instagram, and it's kcateringseattle.com.
Yeah. Yes. Take a look at those meals on there. They look fantastic. Look really delicious.
Thank you.
And then you're married now, and you want to tell me a little bit about you and your wife and the support that how you guys work together?
Yes. No, my wife doesn't really work with me that often, although she is a great unofficial marketing manager.
That's great.
But we've been married for 3 years now, and that life with her, that was not part of where I started my life.
Yeah.
I didn't really know that's the lifestyle that I wanted.
Sure.
But when I met my wife, Dea, it was a person.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like really tough to go there, because my friends knew me as K with a husband.
They knew who you were at a
Yes,
certain time.
yes.
Yeah, snapshot in time.
But this whole journey in life to where I am today has taught me that to live an authentic life. And all the challenges of life leads to being real to who you are. And this little next step in my life of like being with my now wife,
Sure.
it was a really hard transition to make. I wasn't sure, like, will my friends accept me as a gay person? Because I didn't identify myself gay. And I have to say, life is about being authentic and real. Life is short, and when you live that life that's real and everyone sees it. And today, I have the most joyous life, and I live out my life to the fullest.
Yeah, I could sense that about you guys. Like you seem to have really great energy, and you seem grounded at the same time. And
Yeah.
and having just a couple mutual people, it seems like you have people really genuinely do love and support you in your business.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do it without my community.
You can never do it with.
No.
You need a community to be
Yes.
successful.
Yes.
Somebody once told me, it's like you can't be successful alone. People need to have that want for you to be successful. So, and you displayed that throughout. You're sharing that throughout this whole podcast or radio show. So thank you so much. Any last advice or that you want to share with anybody listening that's thinking about doing something different and seeing what they're made of?
Just do it, right? Life is about trying things and testing things and failing. And the more you fail, the more you learn.
Yeah.
The more you take risks, the more gains you'll have.
That's great advice.
Yeah.
Well, let's take the next few minutes. I want to hear what K Catering has, what the vision is for the future. You have any, and you just want to continue and just keep playing around with recipes and keep growing a community, or is there anything you want to share?
Yes, I think I would love to support more of my community. My vision is to use my talent, my food, my service, to serve my community. And I'm all about serving the less fortunate because of my background, where I came from. And it's tough growing up with not much. And so my vision for the company is to obviously create delicious food and serve the different customers I have and create great memories for my clients.
Yeah.
But also use that energy to give back to my community. I'm currently working with Hope House and Hope House is Union Gospel Mission's home to support women with children who are trying to get back on their feet.
That's wonderful. You're supporting them.
Yeah, so we do cooking classes. We're going to be doing cooking classes for the moms and kids there. We do food service, as well as other organizations out there where we really want to.
Sounds like you want to get out and support your communities.
Yeah.
How do the people that want to help out, how do they help support your mission in this next step of helping your community?
I would love to see my community come join me, and whenever there's events or places where people could volunteer or give funds, I believe that we can't live in this world alone, and we need each other to grow and prosper.
We do. We need each other, and that's all of life.
Yes.
Yeah, and if they do want to help out or donate, do they just message you on Instagram or?
Yes,
Yep.
They can message me. You can reach out to me on my website and see where you want to help out.
Yeah, so you heard that here. If you have that want, urge, or need to join her community, participate in helping the communities that need a little bit more food or need some cooking classes, or the women and children that you're participating in, helping them get elevated and experience that next phase of life, whatever that is for them, they could just message you. Yeah, that's fantastic. Any other tidbits that you might want to add as far as other resources or experiences that might help the listener?
Just get help when you need it.
Yeah.
Don't be shy and afraid. Running a business is really tough, especially if you've never done it before, especially if you don't have a background or education for it. Look for help. There's so much resources out there.
Yeah.
Ask your friends. Join the different association that I mentioned. There's a lot of networking opportunities where you can grow your business, but it takes effort. It takes passion.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have that and you're willing to do it, you're going to succeed.
That's really good advice. Could you let me know any food items that are unique to you and what they are?
Oh, some of our most popular dishes is our chive pancakes.
What is that?
It's a delicious, savory pancake with chive and other delicious items. But sometimes I like to put pork belly in there or some kimchi.
Sounds delicious.
Yes.
Yeah, my mouth's watering now for some of that.
So that's really super popular right now.
And what else? What are a couple of your other favorites?
Okay, my pork belly bao buns, I love those. I can eat those all the time so we simmer the pork belly in all the different seasonings, and we serve it with plum sauce and scallions and a little sriracha for a heat.
Oh my gosh, that sounds delicious. Anything else that you would recommend trying?
Oh, so many more. You'll just have to come check out my website, give us a call, check out my Instagram at K Catering, Seattle.
Okay, and then going back to your services, how small of a party will you do?
We do private dinners for 8-10 people. So that is a small event that we can do.
And then what about the largest?
And we can accommodate up to 400 seated plated dinners, but we can go up to 1,000 plus for lunch service, where we do a lot of lunch delivery, large format, family style.
That sounds wonderful. All right. Well, you've listened to Made of More, and today we're featuring Kay Kim of K Catering. I'm Chris Erdmann, and stay tuned for our next upcoming shows. You can tune in to Made of More every Wednesday, 8 a.m., and every week we'll have somebody different showcasing a business or an entrepreneur that's here in the greater Pacific Northwest. And don't forget, you are made of more.